Okay, Beseda, we're up to Siman Mem Vov Halacha Tes. So this is a very interesting, important Siman, important Sif, where we talk about what can you do before Birchas HaTorah. Now, the first thing in the morning you say Birchas HaTorah. Are you allowed to say Psukim? What can and can't you do before Birchas HaTorah? So, says the Machaba, Lo Yikra Psukim, he brings two opinions. Lo Yikra Psukim Kaidim Birchas HaTorah. You're not allowed, Siman Mem Vov Halacha Tes, Sif Tes. Lo Yikra Psukim Kaidim Birchas HaTorah. You shouldn't read Psukim before Birchas HaTorah. Afal Pi Shu Oimrim Derech Tachanunim. Even though it's not als limud, you're not learning, you're just using it as part of tefillah, derech tachanunim. V'yesh oimrim she'ein lochush, you're not worried about it, kiven she'ein oimrim ele derech tachanunim. It's more of a tefillah, and therefore it's not limud HaTorah, and therefore you can say them before Birchas HaTorah. V'nochen lochush l'svar rishayna. Says the Mechaba, it's better to be chayshish for the first opinion, and therefore not to say psukim before Birchas HaTorah. Says the Ramah, however, the minhag is like the svara achrona, that you can. Shahare b'mei haslichas. What's the proof? Because b'mei haslichas coming up, mispalim haslichas v'achach mevorchen ala Torah im seder sha'brachas. We daven slichas first, then we say Birchas HaTorah, and slichas is full of psukim, which we haven't said Birchas HaTorah yet. V'chein b'chol yom k'shenichnosin lebeis hakneses omrim kama psukim v'tachanunim v'achkach mevorchen ala Torah. And every day, on a daily basis, we're saying all different types of psukim, and we haven't yet said Birchas HaTorah. V'nagu l'sad Birchas HaTorah miyad acha Birchas Ashayotza ve'ein l'shalis. So the Mishnah is going to explain that means that actually the Ramah says the minhag is we should say Birchas HaTorah straight away after Ashayotza and only then say the psukim. So he's sort of saying that the minhag is that one should say Birchas HaTorah first and then do the psukim. Okay, let's just do the Mishnah Berurah up to that point. So we're Siman Mem Vov Halacha Tes. Says the Mishnah Berurah in Sif Kotzen Chav Zayin, Haslichas. ולפי מה שכוסף לקמי, דהיום נהגו לברך ברכס התורה מיד אחר ברכס השייוצא. That was the Ramah we just said. Nowadays the minhag is that we say Birchas HaTorah straight away after Ashayotza, and we don't say any psukim before that. Imkain svirlon the lo psukim elu derech tachunim kedim Birchas HaTorah. We shouldn't say any psukim before Birchas HaTorah. Imkain yesh linu gam kain b'mei aslichus dem Birchas HaTorah kodem aslichus uledaleg achakach uledal gachach. And therefore, it's important when it comes to slichas that we should say Birchas HaTorah before we say slichas. Okay, Chavches, v'achkach mevarchin, and then. So this is going on the Ramah in the first opinion that you say slichas and then you do mevarchin ala Torah. Shekol zehu meikadin. Meikadin, you are allowed to say psukim, which is derech tachanunim, and then say Birchas HaTorah. V'kamei shehevi habeis Yosef b'shem Ma'aril. Shekein aminik ba'Ashkenaz. V'mesayim is al zeh haRamah v'nogu l'sadeh. However, nowadays, says the Ramah, that we don't say any psukim before Birchas HaTorah. The first thing we do is to say Birchas HaTorah. Now, interesting, let's take a look at number 35. There are some exceptions. Even though the Ramah says the minhag is you say Birchas HaTorah and then you can say all types of psukim, there are some exceptions. For example, one exception is Moida'ani. Right? Moida'ani is not really a pasuk, but if you look at number 35, v'amiras Moida'ani kaidim Birchas HaTorah kosuv le'el shemuta. Right? That's fine. Now, number two, v'hanichnes lebeis hakneses. Very interesting shaila. What if you come into shul, b'shah sha'tzibur kirish shema? For example, there are two minyanim, and in the first minyan they're holding by shema. You're coming to learn a bit early, and the halacha is the Shulchan Aruch says in Siman Samachei. We'll get them as Shem. Shetzorich likre mohem pasuk rishon. The halacha is when the tzibur is saying Shema, you should say the first pasuk with them. And the Mishnah Berurah says over there, yochel likreis af kodim Birchas HaTorah. So if you walk into shul, let's say Shabbos morning, and there's a hashkama going on, and there you learn for chavrusa 8 o'clock on Shabbos morning. You get it to shul at 10 to 8, and the hashkama minyan is saying Shema, and you haven't said Birchas HaTorah yet. Says the Mishnah Berurah, you're allowed to say the first pasuk of Shema with the tzibur, even though you haven't said Birchas HaTorah. Okay, that's another example. V'chein, look at the next paragraph there in 35. V'chein ha'omed lifnei soif zman kriya shema. Again, you come to shul, whatever day of the week, Shabbos or whichever day, and it's coming to the end of soif zman kriya shema. V'choishesh im yaktim levarich Birchas HaTorah. If you say Birchas HaTorah now, lifnei shekara kriya shema, yavar zmano, you're going to miss the zman of Shema. Hoire hachazan ish sheyikra kriya shema below shivarich tchila Birchas HaTorah. V'chein hoire hagonim Rabbi Yosef Shalom Yashiv. So very interesting. That could be Shabbos morning. Let's say Sosan Kriya Shema is 9 o'clock, and you come to shul and it's a few minutes till 9 o'clock, and you realize you haven't said Shema and you haven't said Birchas HaTorah. So what do? So the Chazon Ish and Rabbi Yashiv paskin that you say Kriya Shema, and even though the Ramah has paskined over here that strictly speaking the minhag is you say Birchas HaTorah first before any psukim. If it means missing Kriya Shema, just say Kriya Shema. Say that. And then just another interesting thing. What about duchening? What if a kohen oversleeps? He runs to shul on Yom Tov morning, and he runs to shul because he wants to duchen, and he realizes he hasn't said Birchas HaTorah. So can he say the psukim? There, psukim yivarecha. So the next paragraph, or the following paragraph, le'inyan nesias kapayim koydim Birchas HaTorah. Hoire hagonim Shlomo Zalman Auerbach and Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky sheyochol hakohen loses es kapov. Yes, a kohen can duchen. What about Yud Gimel Midas saying Ani Mamin? Some people say that in the morning, So he says over here, Yud Gimel Midas kohen Birchas HaTorah, Hoire hagonim Chaim Kanievsky shlefi das hagra yesh lehakel. Right, one can do it, but again, it's preferable to just, if you can, just make sure you say Birchas HaTorah straight away before you do any of these things. Okay, let's finish off. Chavtes miyad acha. So that means you do it straight after. So he says you say Birchas HaTorah straight after Asher Yotza. Now, interesting. There's two different opinions when you say Elokai Neshama. V'yesh Omrim the Birchas Elokai Neshama smucha leBirchas Asher Yotza. I don't know what you do, but I think the answer, it says Al Netilas Yadayim, Asher Yotza, and then Elokai Neshama. Is that possible? The answer does what? Birchas HaTorah first. Here it is. Yeah, you're quite right. Al Scroll does it this way around. It says Al Netilas Yadayim, Asher Yotza, and then Birchas HaTorah. My siddur, and you'll see soon, I do it at home. I say Elokai Neshama first before Birchas HaTorah. So he says over here in Chavtes, v'yeshem de Birchas Elokai Neshama smucha leBirchas Asher Yotza, that you should say Elokai Neshama straight after Asher Yotza. V'alkein yivarech Birchas HaTorah ach Elokai Neshama. And the Birchas HaTorah comes after Elokai Neshama because of Azeh Pri Megadim the Nara Pashte. In other words, whichever minhag you have, whether it's Elokai Neshama straight after Asher Yotza, or whether it's Elokai Neshama after Birchas HaTorah, which goes straight after Asher Yotza, then either way that works fine. But take a look at 36, 37. 36. What's the maila of putting Elokai Neshama straight after Asher Yotza? When a person wakes up in the morning, it's like a new creation. Beautiful. You say Asher Yotza, that's the Yitzira, it's a praise for HaKadosh Baruch Hu for creating your guf, and Elokai Neshama for giving you the neshama back. Okay, in 37, he says, he says it's preferable to put in the Elokai Neshama, not like the Al Scroll, the Elokai Neshama straight after Asher Yotza. Why? Okay. But the Mishnah Berurah says Nara Pashta F'Shem the Pri Megadim. So whichever minute you've got certainly what to rely on, but it seems to be preferable to put in a kind of Shama straight after Asher Yotza. Okay, let's go back to the Ramah. We're halfway through. V'toiv lo'ma b'shachris achash ma Yisrael baruch shem kavod machusei le'olam va'ed. In other words, when you get to wherever it is in Le'olam Yeh Adam, and then we say Aval Anachnu V'Amcha Lefichach, and then Shema Yisrael. Good to say Baruch Shem there as well. It's in the Siddur, so we do it. Belachash, we say Baruch Shem. Ki lefa'amim she'enim kriya Shema lekreis shle bezmana, because sometimes you daven Shachris, and the Zman of, by the time you get to Kriya Shema, is actually after the Zman. And that way, minimally, you've at least said Shema Yisrael and Baruch Shem before the Zman. Because by the time he said to Kriya Shema, Shle bezmana, v'yetze bezeh. Okay, let's do the Mishnah Berurah. B'Shachris. Va'afilu ha'mashkim b'boker hashkem v'omrim Kriya Shema kodem Amad HaShachar. Those who get up early and they want to say Kriya Shema before Amad HaShachar. This morning you were saying it's dark outside. Yeah, when you wake up, it's getting darker and darker. The Sham bevada ein yotze b'zeh de Kriya Shema. When it's dark outside, it's before Alois Amad HaShachar. It's too early to say Kriya Shema. Afa pike nagin l'say machrav Orach Chaim. Ava masha omrim kodem yishtabach v'seiroscha kosav lema Shema Yisrael. Yeah, the end of just before Yishtabach. Ein lo ma'achrav Orach Chaim kvod machus leil void. Okay, ki lefa'amim pirush mishum de lefa'amim sheihin hatzibur. Sometimes the tzibur delay. Lochein yomer b'chol pam Orach Chaim kvod machus leil void. Because the below Orach Chaim kvod machus leil void. If you don't add that sentence in, lo nira Kriya Shema rak katziput dvarim. It's as if when you said Shema Yisrael, it's just like you're telling a story. It's not, or you're just saying a pasuk from the Torah. It's not, it doesn't have anything to do with Kriya Shema. You're chiv of Kriya Shema. Yechaven shlelot says, but you should have in mind not to have you're not being yotze Kriya Shema with these two sentences. Elim ken yorish hatzibur yavru zman Kriya Shema. Unless you're worried that maybe the tzibur are not going to say Shema in time. Avol kashelo yavru mutav lot says the Kriya Shema imat tzibur. But of course, if it's better to say Kriya Shema with the tzibur before the time. Shatzibur yikra kol hashlosh parshas or Birchas, because you've got the additional benefit, of course, that you're saying all 3 paragraphs of Shema, plus you're saying properly with the brachas before and after Shema. That's the ideal way of saying it. If you're worried that the tzibur are going to pass the zman of Kriya Shema, kadin Kriya Shema v'yechaven not says pozeh mitzvahs asay de Kriya Shema. If you're worried that the tzibur by the time you get to say Shema, then of course you should say it early, but you should have in mind that you're being yotze the mitzvahs asay of Kriya Shema to do it then. The mitzvah deraisa kamla b'siman samach sifdala the mitzvah strichas kavana. We pass on mitzvah strichas kavana, and therefore you should have in mind. It's an important yesod, by the way, that we've got 2 mitzvahs say deraisa of Kriya Shema Shacharis and Kriya Shema Mariv. Now Mariv means after Nacht. So if you daven Mariv early, last night we davened, the mincha was here, what time? It's 6:10. So you're davening before plug, after plug, but you're davening before Nacht, so everyone's got a chiyuv to say Kriya Shema at night time again. And when you say Kriya Shema at night time again, or any time you say Kriya Shema, both in the morning and evening, you should have in mind, I'm now fulfilling the mitzvah say of Kriya Shema in the evening, morning, whatever it is, because mitzvah strichas kavana. V'yesh omrim sheikra kol parsha rishona. If you're doing it to fulfill your mitzvah deraisa of Kriya Shema, you should say preferably all 3 parashas, but minimally the first parasha. Because in addition, you've got another mitzvah of saying Zeichel Yitzias Mitzrayim. Now this, a lot of people don't notice this. You'll begin noticing now when I mention it to you. But in your regular Art Scroll Siddur, where in the 3rd paragraph of the Shema, you have another mitzvah Saseh Min HaTorah of Aniyashim Lekechem Asher Tzeis Chemeretz Mitzrayim. So in the Art Scroll, in the actual text, it says Yechaven Lekayim Mitzvah Saseh Shel Zechiras Yitzias Mitzrayim. So really, by saying Shema, you're fulfilling 2 mitzvahs deraisa. Number 1, Shema, and number 2, Zeichel Yitzias Mitzrayim. And you should mitzvahs strichas kavana. You should have them in mind. Okay, let's carry on. V'yesh omrim sheikra kol parsha rishona v'yosef v'shem v'shem k'moshe kol pri chodesh k'dei lahazkes Yisrael b'zman Kriya Shema. Okay. V'chai adam klal ches din zayin hiskim lahapri chodesh sheloi b'zmano sifkat lamed beis dahainu achas sholosh shois. That's after the 3rd hour. She'ov zman Kriya Shema v'adayin lo zman birchas Kriya Shema. But the zman birchas Kriya Shema doesn't stop until the zman tefillah, which is the end of the 4th hour. Ad achas sharavias k'delakam b'simanun ches. Avol. If you're worried that the tzibur are going to miss even the zman of tefillah, the zman birchas Kriya Shema, ein lo lahamtin aleim klal. Then you have to wait bichlal, ki yafsid al yodam habrachas v'gam הזמן תפילה שהוא גם כן לכתחילה רק עד 4 שעות כדי לקבל מסיום פייטס אלייק בזמן ברכסה ויספלה ביחידי. What happens if you go to a minyan, you're on holiday or whatever it is, and the only minyan there Shabbos morning is 9:30 or 10 o'clock. Someone told me they came back from Spain yesterday, and there was a big olam, and the 10 o'clock, I think Spain is the latest man. I think the Sosan Kriya Shema is much later there, so you're okay. Yes, it's much later. 10 o'clock, right? So it's much later. But let's say it wasn't. Let's say Sosan Kriya Shema is earlier, and the only time for davening is later. And by davening with the minyan, you're going to miss Sosman Tefillah. So what do you do? So he says here, Yispala B'Chidi. If you take a look at number 43, he says, if you're worried you're going to miss the Zman of Kriyashma, then what do you do? If you're going to miss the Zman of Tefillah, the Mishnah Berurah says clearly you should daven B'Chidus, because you're davening in the afternoon, Shachris. What?
You should say Shema then early and then daven with the minyan.
Right, so that's if you're going to, what if your davening is going to be after the Zman Tefillah? So then you're in trouble. So then he says, you should daven B'Chidus. Yeah, because if they're davening at say at 11 o'clock in the morning, 10 o'clock in the morning, whatever time it is, after Zman Krish, after Zman Tefillah, then you're davening Shachris for them, it doesn't help you. It's too late to daven then, right? But it's unusual that because Zman Tefillah is quite late. Find that, unless you go somewhere at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, which is after Zman Tefillah. But what if you're by davening with that minyan, it's after the Zman Krishma. Let's say they daven at 9:30, and Zman Krishma is 9:30. So by the time they get to Shema, it's 10 o'clock, whatever time. So you're going to miss Zman Shema, but you're not going to miss Zman Tefillah. So what do you do? So take a look at number 43. If you're only choshesh, you're going to miss the Zman of Kriyashma. You say Kriyashma without the brachas. Yeah, like you just said. Now this goes to the end of the book. B'shatzian lekamon, the shatzian later in Simon Tzadi, Kosov shegam ba'ifin zeh sheyav rak zman kriyashma. Even in a situation when you're only going to miss zman kriyashma, yikri kriyashma ima brachos v'yispalish menes b'yichidus. Better to say kriyashma with the brachos, daven b'yichidus, and then maybe you catch kedusha or kaddish or whatever with the tzibur. Okay, Lamed Gimel. Let's just finish off. V'yetzi b'zeh. One should really do the Kriya Shema with tefillin on. The kolakara Kriya Shema b'li tefillin kilu med eidu sheker ba'atzmai. Because if you're saying, as if you're being eidu sheker, you're saying Shema without tefillin, and Shema makes reference to the tefillin. So it's like eidu sheker of a poshet in ef shalei laniach tefillin atzah me'ezin. For whatever reason, you can't put on tefillin now. Don't hold back from the mitzvah of Kriyashma. Ki tefillin and Kriyashma shtei mitzvahs. They're two separate mitzvahs. There's Shema, there's tefillin. They're not ma'akim each other. There's no is even in saying Shema without tefillin. Only if he intentionally does it, not as if it's an onus in any way. שתקתי שם דברי הלבוש, ימה עצו השם עד שלא נברא, ולא עד שלא ברוסו. Okay, you use that nusach and not the עד שלא ברוסו nusach. Say that. Okay, we'll leave it.